Peace. Namaste, everybody. Merry Christmas to you all who are Merry Christmasers, and happy holidays to all who are happy holidayers. Welcome to Not Church. No doctrine, no dogma, no Bravo Sierra, because YouTube won't let me say no Bravo Sierra. Mysticism. Mysticism is ancient and global. Mysticism is common and direct experience of the overwhelming power of mysterious love. Capital O, capital P, capital M, capital L, overwhelming power of mysterious love. Once it touches you telepathically, speaking without words directly to your soul, you transform. We transform every time the isness touches us. And I'm not asking you to believe or believe me. I'm asking you to seek. Seek on the outside and seek on the inside. Because the inside is vaster than the outside. Just seek. I'm called Peter Panagore, MDiv. Today at Not Church, do we have free will in heaven? Twice I did, by request, and John 6:38. Inner silence practice opens the ear of the heart inside of your inner temple. Guidance, everybody's seeking guidance. Guidance comes through listening inside the heart, in silence. Listening begins in silence. Listening takes practice. So be a good listener and pay attention to your prayer chant. And you ride it on your breath, up and down, up and down. And when your mind wanders off, bring it back into focus with your prayer word. Love is a simple word, and it's enough as a prayer word. So let's chant 3 ohms to raise our prana. And then with that focus being our center, we begin to center ourselves in prayer to start our time together, sharing light. But before we do, I'm going to say hi to folks. Skimming back over here. Hello, Beth, Alexandra, Kimberly. Do we have free will now in this reality? I have discussed this question with several respected Tibetan Buddhist teachers. Their conversations were about karma and free will. Let's find out. Let's talk about this during the chat and maybe even during my talk this morning. But good morning, Kristen. Hi, Kay Winchester. Good morning, Lee. Hey, Lee. Hey, Beth, Ronan, Sean, Kristen, Mary, Eric. Hi, everybody. Let's begin. Let's begin with 3 ohms, and then we're going to go into our centering prayer time, okay? Love is Judith's prayer word. It's a good prayer word. I'm going to begin with mine, all right? Here we go. I'm going to close my eyes. Deep belly breath, fill up the lungs on the Om, and then when we go into the centering prayer, don't engage the lungs to just the belly. The lungs will fill enough. All right, 3 ohms. It's a little bit of time in centering together. Here's a sort of quote from Jesus. May your civilization come. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. By request, do we have free will in heaven? And by extra request, how much free will do we have on earth? Do we have free will in heaven? Twice. I did. Twice so far. Maybe 3 times a charm, and I won't have any the third time. Wouldn't that be grand? I've reincarnated back into this particular body, back into this life. And in this life, people call me Peter, Peta, Petey, Pete, Cephas, Pierre, Pedro, Petro, Petros. Lots of different names. Not one of them's my real one. My biggest struggle here in this world is free will. Me, my, mine. Against thou, thee, thine. Thy will be done, good Christians pray, on earth in me as isness is in heaven. Capital I, isness is in heaven. Goodness. When I was in heaven, I had free will to choose. Both times I died, I did. Why me? I asked myself a million zillion times. I don't know why me. I just know that I am known by the knower and that it is infinitely more than enough just to be known. Why me? Why not you? Was the reply. Why not you? I don't know, knower. I don't know. Why not me? Leaving me asking always, why me, until I stopped asking and found that not asking was better, clearer, cleaner, less of me, my, mine. The second time I died, I popped out of my body inside the tunnel as the intelligent light spoke love whispers. Come, come home. We await you. Come home, welcome. The wanted welcome. I went wanting this welcome. Today's the day. I shouted inside my head to myself, today's the day I get to die. I celebrated my heart attack with myself, did a little dance inside. I'd prayed for this for decades daily. My death prayer began the day my first experience of my near-death experience ended. On that day, my death prayer began. After exerting my little bit of free will in heaven, I choose to live my life, I said. You won't live yours, rang the rejoinder, as the holy finger flicked me out of heaven, and then gave me a second choice. A second choice. The fullness of the light into glory. I could choose that entry point into this incarnation, the fullness of the light itself, or less light, dimmed, henceforth myself incarnate. I chose me, my, mine, a little more than thee, thy, thine. On my way back to this body, after being flicked out of heaven the first time, having made the request, used my free will, because I chose myself this incarnation and the light, but not the full light. I chose, I had a choice. I was cajoled toward the light, but I chose me in that first round. I didn't want to lose all of me. in my Peter incarnation 2.0. Foolish, foolish me. Better to have picked the laser white light at the center of all there is for my entry point, my re-entry point, rather than having to spend my life learning to let myself be consumed, to be less thy will be done. That should be my prayer. That is my prayer. But I wouldn't have necessarily had to spend my life in pursuit of it. I don't know. But because I chose me, my mine, and a little bit of thee, thy, thine, I'm here practicing getting consumed. Next time, my prayer. Let me pick your laser beam of love, O love. O love, let me pick you. Let me have the choice next time to pick you. For the world, for me, O God, lesson learned. Meanwhile, on earth, here, I, for nearly the length of my life, ever since the sun rose in the south of Calgary, on the second day of Life 2.0, the night after I totaled Tim's car, on the second morning of my second dawn of Peter's life, having visited the realm of beauty, having re-entered this beautiful earthly hell, hearing the calling of my soul name inside myself like an ocean roar in a storm, creating me every second and every breath and every beat, seeing my mistake of free will, willing my way back into the physical being, when I began to say to myself, why me? I began my second daily prayer chant, oh, today's a good day to die. Take me home today, oh God. But my will was not done with this prayer, not for 30 years. Fool, do you not know, I was told, those who pray for an early death are condemned to live the longest? The second day I died and found myself inside the tunnel, being greeted by the light, my guide, my angel, my truth, my friend. Joyfully I nearly went. So powerful the prayer was my desire for myself. Embraced by light love, I rose and went. God, take me home was the powerful prayer. But I turned away to see inside Peter 2.0 to see if the loves I was leaving behind were ready for me to go. They weren't. I saw their present and I saw their future without me and with, and I turned my back on the light being angel, who politely had retreated up the tunnel to give me space, turned the chin aside, and in an instant they were beside me once I turned back to them, speaking love and wisdom and welcome to my soul. We want you to come home. And I knew the love of truth and the truth of love would wait for me eternally. So, without permission, I turned my fare thee well until we meet again and free willed it back into my life. I didn't ask permission. I made a choice. Why did I get the free will to choose twice? Do all others who die get the choice? Maybe ask yourself instead, who doesn't die? Everybody dies. Everyone has no choice. The reaper reaps all of us. I chose to stay a little longer, knowing the realm of beauty will welcome me home when I go. So maybe 3 times a charm for me, I hope. On earth, ever since my first and second rebirth, I've followed the advice of Jesus to make my eye single so that my body will be filled with light. I choose this, not my light, not the light of Peter 3.0, our light, our light. Inside all of us, way bigger, universally bigger than all of us who are all beloved. My free will in heaven was limited. Mostly I was like a rag doll being tossed about in an ocean storm. No agency. See this, see that. Understand this, understand that. I understood I did not make myself. I understand I do not make myself. At my highest consciousness level, I am a creature made by Creator until I become Creator again, when there is no creature left. Internationally, in this body, in this lease, I am a creature made by Creator. I am light made of light. You are light made of light. And when you make your will the divine will, you're making yourself into the divine being. I'm not here to convince you or to make you believe me. I can't. And I don't want to. It's not my job. It's not my power. I just want to show you what's already inside yourself so that you may feel it for yourself. Once is enough to start a journey of a lifetime, lifetime after lifetime, aiming for the light. Thy will be done. I used to think I never, ever, ever, ever wanted to incarnate again. Now, I think if given a choice, I'd be a bodhisattva or an avatar of selflessness if I had the choice to. Do I? I don't know. The work of Kriya Yoga and inner silence has transformed me over these 40 years because these tools of transformation and other tools like them of breath and focus help us use our free will to choose God's will again and again with every breath until it, capital I, they, capital T, until they come to live inside us, bringing us heaven here now, channeling heaven here now. This global awakening is each of us using our free will to pick love and light over and over and over again. Free will to choose to serve heaven by learning to die to self before you die, so that when you die, you do not die. For I have come down from heaven, not to do my own will, not for my own desires, but the will and the desire of the unity who sends me. John 6:38. For I have come down from heaven not to do my own will, not for my own desires, but the will and desire of the unity who sends me. I came down, chose Jesus. So many people talk about choosing their lives. You came down. You pre-existent self came down. On earth, as in nearest heaven, there is a choice. There is free will. And paradoxically, there's also no choice. The tornado comes. You didn't choose it. Nature created it. The leader in a far off land declares war, and you didn't choose it. Free will and choice always have limitations. Genetics, epigenetics, life circumstances, the choices of others, all assert limitations on us in life. Only the divine will is unlimited and free. Even in heaven, I had free will, but it was teeny, teeny, tiny compared to the size of the universe. It sounds big from my point of view. inside myself, I got to choose. But in terms of my understanding of the size of infinity and the created order of the multiverse, itsy bitsy, teeny tiny, little tiny choice. It's that I'd like it to be. I'd like it to be more free will. But the truth is, I've only got a limited amount wherever I go. To be that, the one who is actually me, as Peter, as to be the highest consciousness self of me, uncontained by my incarnation, to be fully at one, I consent, consume me, consume me, consume me. Funny. On earth, my way home is to voluntarily give up my free will. What a paradox. The way I find to go home is to give up myself, to give up my free will, the little that I have, given all the things around me that are pressuring me to live the way I live. Mathew 6:10. Manifest your realm and cause your every purpose to be fulfilled on earth, and your will in us, just as it is, was, and will be in heaven, or, as you may know it, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Manifest your realm, bring heaven into me, and cause your purpose to be fulfilled on earth, in me, your will in us, just as it is, was, and always will be in heaven. Is there free will? There's some. But free will, capital F, capital W, only really belongs to the one, to the unity, to the wholeness. And it's okay that way. I used to cling to myself. And then I found that what I clung to wasn't me. And so instead, I free myself and cling to the one light whose will I want to become me. Next week, manifesting heaven. The second coming is already here and has been here and never was not here and now is more here. Bringing heaven here now, incarnational theology in a new light. Heaven on earth now. The biggest chance for change in the history of the world is us, is love. The 21st century feels like a cusp, a cusp. Let's nudge the world together. We'll talk about it next week. If in your future, heaven, in your afterlife, if in your future heaven, in your afterlife, you had free will or full free will, what would you want for yourself? What would you want for yourself if you have free will in heaven? Let me know in the comments. And thanks for being here today with me. If Not Church feeds you or makes you wonder or question or inspires you or speaks to your heart or opens your heart chakra or your throat chakra or your third eye, then please give a gift of support. Week after week, I appreciate your help as we grow. It's very helpful. Keeps me streaming here, trying to bring the good news. I'm available by appointment at peterpanagore.love, where you can find all my links, including Mystic Tea Salon's Zoom link, which I didn't put on the link below, did I today? But I will. I'll take a moment to do that. It's at my website at peterpanagore.love, but I meant to toss it in this morning, and I think I forgot. So that's at the top of the next hour. No matter where on earth you are, this is minus 5 GMT where I am. Love is all there is. Peace to everyone. Let's see what's going on in the chat. And I'm going to take a moment here to as I stutter my way through this to grab the Zoom link, and I'll keep you entertained with my voice. People have told me not to sing. Maybe I shouldn't sing, but let's see. I'm going to grab Mystic Tea Salon, copy invitation, and then I'm going to go over to here. So I'm clicking my way through my back end of YouTube, and I'm about to add, let's see if I can do this. Oh, I can. All right. There it is. Ta-da. Okay. And I was thinking to myself this morning, I had all of my technical issues straightened out, almost all of them, but not quite, I guess. So let's see what's going on over here. I'm going to take a look over here. Lucia, I'll start with Lucia because she's at the top of my feed here. My guides told me that my life is not mine. It belongs to and was planned by my soul. And no, I don't really have any free will. Or if I have it, if I want to suffer by going against my soul's plan. So I'm in a kind of similar situation um, to my first mystical experience when I was 5 years old. I was told explicitly that I belonged to God and that I work for God, and that was my job. And I welcomed it. I really welcomed it because it was so self-evident to me. And the same was true when I was dead the first time. I knew that I was creature made by Creator and that I belonged to. Sort of like in the Bible is a terrible word that we Christians have misused and enslaved an entire race. The word slave. It's like a God's slave. Sort of. I go. I do. I belong to heaven. I have free will. I get to act, but it's within limitations. My soul self, the createdness of the light inside me, way at the core of the center of my soul, belongs to God, is God. And as is God, it must seek its own will, if that makes sense. I'm with you, Lucia. All right. I lost. Boy, this is a great conversation going on here today. Thanks, Lee, for the heart. Ursa Major, thank you for the super chat. Who gave me a super chat? The Tao of Pooh. What a great book. The Tao of Pooh. Thank you. It's Justin. We had a call this past week. This was amazing. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Betty. Thank you. Thank you. Tao of Pooh. I love that book. I'm a fan of the Tao. Okay, so also a fan of the Tao. You're welcome, Nadine. Amen and amen, Lee. Thank you, Tim. My weekly reminder to keep seeking is here with this group. Seek, 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 seek. Incarnational theology. Wait till you hear that, Lee, Reverend Lee. Free will versus determinism. That's a tough nut to crack. So, Christian, there's this thing. It's not so much determinism in my experience as it is probabilityism. So that's a new word. I just made it up. Probabilityism. When I chose, I asked to come back. I had that choice, right? And then I chose the entry point into this life. I had a million entry points I could have come in. There was this singular laser beam of white center that was ginormous, and the voice, the holy voice, the unspeakable, ineffable, was speaking to me. Choose that one. Choose me. And I'm like, I really like a little bit more of me, so I'm going to choose a bit more of me and not the fullness of you. But as I entered that life, this life, I saw all of these probabilities. They weren't actualities, they weren't determinisms, they weren't fates, they weren't destiny, they were destinies. They were probable destinies. and my individual choices within the limitations of my genetics, epigenetics, circumstances, the world, and all those kinds of things we just discussed. I made choices left and right, up and down, the entire way down my journey, and made those probabilities into actualities. And those actualities, I then, in my own sort of disassociated, non attached uh, way of living, sort of outside of time, experience. I live in a constant state of deja vu, like a constant state of deja vu. Sometimes it's more intense, sometimes it's a little bit weaker, but it's always present to me. I see my future before it happens. It was super convenient playing second base, softball second base. I could see where the ball was going. It's super convenient physically. I can see in front of me when I ski. I can see where I'm going. As long as I can see it, I can see it, and I can react to it. But the problem is that the problem would be is if I believed that that thing that became an actuality as a result of my choices that I see inside this deja vu, if I thought that that was the only path I had in front of me, my destiny, my fate. This is your fate, Luke. No, it didn't work that way for me. I don't know how it works for anybody else, but it doesn't work that way for me. I saw all of these probabilities, a million probabilities in my life, and the individual choices that I make, and the choices people are making around me, bigger people too, and nature, set me on a path. It's a paradox. It's a paradox of both. And what I learned was by aiming my heart at the light. This is where the whole consuming thing comes in. I should have chosen the light. I should have chosen the laser beam of light. Instead, I chose me. And now I've spent my entire life choosing God, the divine, the source, the light, Allah, Brahma, Atman, the Hashem, the Hovye Vavye. And whether I choose left or right or up or down makes very little difference in the eternal nature of my being. What really matters is the choice that I constantly make for the light, because my time here is limited in this impermanence. I'm not playing the short game here. I play the long game. The long game is infinite light. That's what Jesus was trying to tell us. That's the long game. And while I'm here on earth, I seek to manifest heaven inside myself, partly selfishly, of course, because I need this thing to be secure inside myself. This thing, this light, but also to channel it into the world, to get out of the way and let it speak for itself. And in speaking for itself, find a home, find that it's already housed inside of millions, billions of souls. And then there's a communal thing that happens. And we nudge the future of the world. We nudge the future of the world by the radiance of the light and love living within us, by making our will God's will, by dying before we die, by the word Islam, surrender, consumed. A peaceful and loving life is all one needs, isn't it? Oh yeah. You don't need it. You don't need to take the path I'm on at all. It's so much easier not to. Just love people and live with peace in your heart. That's all. A peaceful and loving life is all one needs. That's all one needs. You don't even need to be a believer, like, or an experiencer. You just need to love people. It's super simple and it's built into humanity. At a minimum, I gotta get a drink of water. At a bare minimum, humans always love their offspring. Well, for the most part. There are always those people. But love is built into us. So nice to hear these words. Thank you, Carmen. Kristen, LOL, Lee. What did you say, Lee? You must have said something funny. Oh, well. I want I'd want for love not to feel forced or uncomfortable. Yeah, it's not this love, this higher love is not forced and it's not uncomfortable. Well, it can be overwhelming. Is that discomfort or is that overwhelm? Maybe a little of both. It's yeah. There are other aspects of this love thing and the divine light. When you surrender yourself, it's not an easy path. It's taken me my whole life to figure out that I'm the only one standing in my way. I mean, I knew that all the way along, but to actually release myself from myself, that was the tricky part of it all. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna keep going down the list here. Tim, that's awesome, Peter, for a 5-year-old. Yeah, I didn't pick it, Tim. I didn't pick this. At least, I have a soul contract that's kind of outside my vision. But when I was 5, I had a seriously, and I'm writing about it now for the movie. Yeah, it was I became a different kid. Had this picture posted up on my Facebook page a week ago. It was me and my bow tie. I was because my dad had always wore bow ties. God, my dad has passed on, gone home, um, where I saw him when I was dead, already well, 40 years ago. But anyway, someone said, "Oh, those eyes," about this little picture. It's after I had been to heaven once. This radiance of light lives inside us and shows through us. And you can see it in people's eyes. You can feel it in their hearts. It can radiate from their hands. It can be put into their bread when they bake it, or into their music when they write it, or it can be channeled. The light can be channeled. So 5 years old is when it began for me. And I don't know, would I have picked it? I don't know. I didn't that I know of. And maybe there's an answer to why is there suffering. The number of us living on earth as it is in heaven hasn't reached critical mass. Growth takes time. It's a choice and then a process. Well, Wanda, except for, the universe is billions and billions of years old. And it's not just people on earth. So the whole love and heaven, that's where the unity is. That's where the power is. And I think it's maybe you're right in that not enough of us here on earth have chosen this yet, or let it choose us. Because like 50% of the people have mystical experiences. That's not like, that is. About 50% of the people have mystical experiences of one kind or another, but often a visitation from the dead. And it's the opening of the self to allow heaven's presence here inside ourselves that lets it flow out into the world. There's totality and infinity in heaven. There's plenty of power there. Oh, thank you. I see another super chat. Thank you, self luminosity. Thank you. Peace and love to you too. Skipping back, skipping back, skipping back. I'm probably not keeping up with the conversation. You guys are probably way ahead of me. Steve, I'd ask for exploration of intimacy, not only with the divine, but with every single creature she has made. Answering my question. Intimacy. The intimacy is in the divine self. This is a beautiful thing to say. Because when you have the intimacy of the divine self, you have the intimacy of the divine in everywhere, in everything. It's a great self will, Steve. That's like making yourself want the will of the divine. That's the same thing from where I sit. Yeah. So beautiful, this preach today. Thank you, Anna. Not preach. I don't know. Thank you, Peter. I laughed so much when you said, the more you want to die on earth, the longer you get to live my life. I know. Who would have thought it? I told this to Theophane, my spiritual director. I was like, hey, I've been praying for my death for, at that point, 10 years or something. He's like, you don't know the monastery saying then. Those who pray for an early death are condemned to live the longest. I'm like, what? Yeah. So, but I continue doing it till the day I die the second time. The day I die the second time is the day that my prayer for my own death ended. Um, mostly because I know it's coming anyway, but I decided to stick around here as long as I can because a couple of people really need my help. Family folk. You're welcome, Eric. Lucia. Thanks, Tim. I was pursuing my own plan until 2008, suicidal and broke down. It was only when I finally quit pursuing my own plan that my suffering stopped and my life began to become good for me. Yeah, I truly, Lucy, that's kind of my journey too. I resisted. So I died, right? Yeah, I died. And I followed this path of doing meditation and prayer, but I was also resisting. I was doing these two things at once. I was diving into God and I'm like, don't you dare take me. Here I come, one hand open, one hand fisted. And when I finally gave in, it's an incremental giving in. I've been incrementally giving in. That's what part of the practice of meditation does to you. It eliminates self, right? So you incrementally give in. It just comes as a result of the practice. But also, it really helped that divine grace stepped in and kind of let me know, and another mystical experience and another journey to heaven, and then my second death. Those really kind of set it inside me. Anyway, yeah, the more I pursue the divine, the easier my life goes. Doesn't always go perfectly, that's for sure. But definitely, the more I align myself with the alignment of the light, the easier the light gets to live inside me, and the easier the light lives around me, and the easier my life becomes. Not like super simple, it just becomes sort of magical. Magical. Becomes magical. Synchronicities galore. Massimiliano Christian V Architect. Don't know what that means. Architect. To be a seeker, love it. Doreen. Ronan. Karl Popper called it a world of propensities. Oh, that deserves a pencil and a piece of paper. Oh, knocking stuff over here. Propensities. What a great word. Propensities. I'm going to look that up. Well, who was that? Karl Popper. Okay. Propensities. That's great. Good word. I'm always looking for words. I'm always experimenting with words. Somebody asked me this morning, in your advertisement, I saw that you used the word decolonization. Yes, I did. And I was experimenting with it because I think that literalism and evangelism through evangelicalism, literalism and evangelicalism through indoctrination colonize people's minds, and not churches about decolonizing people's minds. I see another super chat from Anna. Thank you, Anna. 15 pounds. Thank you. You must be over there across the ocean from me, over that way. Thank you, Anna. Namaste. Back where I was. Lee, is that where I was? I'm not sure. Does it really matter? I'll just pick one. Kay Winchester, what do I want and hope for when I die? To be surrounded by the peace and love of the Creator, and to be reunited with my beloved husband and all of my family and dear friends who have gone before you. May they all meet you on the day your door opens, and a big, huge celebration. Maybe you've seen this painting. I don't know who the artist is, but it's called First Day in Heaven, and it's a kind of a pastoral park sort of scene, and all these people who have just died are being greeted by all the people who left them who are greeting them by all the people who are already in heaven, is what I mean to say. Plenty of times at deathbeds, in hospitals, and at hospice and hospice at private homes, I saw people say that their deceased loved ones were coming to greet them. So may that be true for you, Kay. You're funny, Peter. Well, thanks, Doreen. Thank you, Rowan. And yes, in theology and philosophy, probabilism. And yes, in theology and philosophy, probabilism is an ancient Greek doctrine of academic skepticism. It holds that in the absence of certainty, plausibility, or truth, likeness is the best criterion. Oh, that's pretty powerful. In theology and philosophy, probabilism is an ancient Greek doctrine of academic skepticism. It holds that in the absence of certainty, plausibility, or truth, likeness is the best criterion. I'm going to say that is totally true of mysticism. Likeness is the best criterion. It's the likeness of the soul inside you and the likeness of the creator that is the best there is, the best criterion. Hey, that was cool, Rowan. Thanks. Alfred, so perhaps taking the long road causes more growth for you instead of going to the light right away. Yeah, probably. Maybe it causes more growth for me. It's just I feel what I feel like though is it feels like there was a, a chairlift to the top of the mountain, and instead I decided to put on snowshoes and snowshoe my way up. Not even skis, snowshoes. That's how it feels anyway. Nope. Don't choose the laser beam. No, Kristen. Nope. Don't choose that laser beam. Your practicing has made you the current Peter, which created the Nut Church, which is such a blessing to me. Oh, thank you, Kristen. Thank you. I appreciate that. It is what it is. I am where I am. There's no doubt about that. And to quote Popeye, I am what I am. Lee, considering what is going on in the world today, when the darkness is trying to take over in odd ways, keep teaching about seeking the light, please. Oh, yeah, I will, Lee, definitely. Seeking the light it's all there is for me. And I want to say thanks for everybody being here today. And thanks for liking this. And thanks for subscribing. And remember, there's a Zoom link in the description below and also at peterpanagore.love. And I want to mention Desmond Tutu today because Desmond Tutu, Bishop Tutu, passed away, went home to a big party, I'm sure. Went home to a huge party for the change that he brought into the world in South Africa. And may that change come into America. I want to see the light in every human being. And I want every human being to see the light in each other, to love, and stop being so divided here. Just see the love. So here's to Desmond Tutu, a toast with good East Booth Bay water. Good because we filter it, pretty seriously filter it. When you finally, Peter, to back, maybe you will see how many people you helped here by staying longer. Maybe Tim, maybe that's sweet. Eric, you can't force this. No, you can't. It's real love. It is. You can't force this. You can get out of the way of it. You can get out of the way of it. That's definitely true. Lucia, I will never knowingly go against my soul guides again, ever. God bless you for that. I don't really deal with God per se. I only have my guides and my soul. They feel much closer. Yeah, they are closer. They're sort of the fullness of the divine self in a more limited form, more approachable. It's like it's much easier to deal with the how do I let me think about this for a second. What's it easier to deal with? It's much easier to deal with the private who comes to deliver the orders than it is with the general. The general's a little more powerful. The private still carries the same authority, right? General's authority, but just a little easier to deal with. The guides are sort of like that. They're more accessible and not as intimidating. I put my knitting needles. Oh, that was going to be great. Where did it go? I don't know. It popped. The whole thing popped. Thank you, Hooligan Mama. You hooligan. Thanks, Hooligan Mama, for the super chat. Thank you. I don't know where I was, but that's okay. Colleen, you are a wordsmith, Peter. What a gift. I love contemplating words through the thesaurus and seeing all the related words and where the search brings me. Oh, I love the thesaurus. Writer's secret? I use the thesaurus all the time. You have it on my toolbar right up there. It says thesaurus.com. It's just because I love the thesaurus. It's great. Anyway, thank you, Colleen. So much wisdom on here today. Is it because it's Christmas? I don't know. Notice that I did not talk about Christmas. Why? Why, Peter? Because when I was in the monastery, the thing that amazed one of the things, among many things, but one of the things that amazed me the most is that Christmas is celebrated on one day. There's like no build up to Christmas in the monastery. It's just another day of the week, but it's a day of the year. It's a holy day, but it's Christmas is a day. It's not yesterday or tomorrow. It's the 12 days of Christmas and the whole month before it and all that kind of stuff. And I have lights up. Okay. I got a Christmas tree. Right. And I've got a lighted wreath outside my house. I definitely have those up for a while. But, you know, Christmas was yesterday. Next week, we're going to talk about incarnational theology, which is kind of Christmassy, but not. But yeah, it's not because so much it's Christmas. I think it's because I've been working at Not Church I started 2 Easters ago, and I've been really kind of building up to things. I actually have had this long-term plan of how to approach this bigger picture that I've been working on for 40 years. So that's why to go back to understand what I'm talking about, you have to see the previous Not Churches, because this really is a series. I do respond to the divine bringing to me the subject for the next week or the week after that. That's for sure. I follow the guidance of the divine, which is why I'm asking for requests. What do you want me to talk about? But the overall plan that I've had developed over the last 40 years, for once I was free of the church to speak as my heart says. Once I was free of that, I had this idea where I had to lay some groundwork, and then I could go on from there. I've laid a lot of the groundwork, and if you watch the previous videos, you'll be able to see that. Oh, peace, love, goddess. Nice name. Peace, love, goddess. I thought free will required a self. If we get rid of self, do we get rid of free will? Yes and no, because you can't fully get rid of yourself. If you're alive, you've still got some self left because you still have to live in the world. It's this attachment to self that we're getting rid of. It's not just the elimination of the egoic mind or the end of the false self. It is the attachment to it. It's the belief that it is you. And once that belief is eliminated, there's enough self left to function in the world. You still got to cook dinner and dust the house and go to work and raise the kids and go to the grocery store and all that kind of stuff. You need some sort of self to do that. But yes, there is also the elimination of the self and the attachment to the self that opens the chamber of the heart to become a residence for the will with a capital W, so that more of the choices that we make arise from that will. Not my will be done, thy will be done on earth in me as it is in you in heaven. So yes, and I should say no and yes. And yes. And yes, and yes, and yes. And that's the choice. That's the choice. The free will to choose heaven above all things. It's pretty amazing. It's not what I thought it was going to be. That's for sure. Look, I still have to choose. We had this morning, we had fish 2 nights ago, some delicious North Atlantic haddock. And there was some left over in the fridge. And I was like, do I choose to put that in my scrambled egg this morning? Yes, I do. I choose to put that haddock in my scrambled egg this morning. I could have chosen not to do that, but I still had some free will choice. That's a minor thing, but it's also real. here. That skipped up. Sometimes it just skips right up. Lucia, when I was young, I wanted the feeling of Christmas to last all year. Now I live a life where it does. Yeah, that's why we don't have to talk about Christmas on Christmas. Because if it lives inside you all the year long, like Ebenezer Scrooge at the end, what day is it, boy? Then it becomes reality for you. That's when Christmas becomes truly incarnational, when it lives inside you as light and love, and you live it throughout the year. Lucia, thank you for that. Welcome, Candyman. This is Alfred. Yeah, hey, Candyman. Another great name. I love these names. My name is so boring on YouTube. It's like Peter Panagore. I like your names. Gratitude feels like Christmas time. Yep. And Doreen, I keep a Christmas tree made up. I lost my space here. I keep a Christmas tree made up of tin all year round. It reminds me that every day is Christmas. The eye I look through. You know what I got to do here? I've got to take off my little teleprompter here. Hold on a sec. See, there it is. And there's the, right? That is the iPod that I bought so that it would make it easier for me. Hey, subscribe if you like this channel. If you've been hanging around for a while, oh my gosh, I got to go. It's 2 minutes of Zoom. It's 2 minutes to Zoom, and the link is below. And peace and love, and everybody. And I got to as many as I could. Thank you all for being here. The final word goes to Kathy F. Every choice we make makes us either closer to God or further away. Amen to that. Namaste, everybody. I got to turn on my tea water, take a little break, and I'll see you in a few minutes over at Mystic Tea Salon. Peace and love, everybody. Namaste.